All right, listen up, guys. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. I hope everyone has been doing great. If you're serious about building wealth, international businesses, building something that actually protects your long-term assets, you need to understand, right, how important this structure is that I'm currently about to show you in this video. So step one, we are introducing the core. Now, the core is the Nevis Trust, right? The Nevis Trust has a trustee. This trustee takes control away from the beneficiary or the settler, which is a person who settles, creates the trust, or benefits from it directly. There's a 2-year statute of limitations if anyone sues you. Foreign court judgments, Nevis doesn't care. There's no such thing as foreign court judgments over in Nevis, right? It's very important there. And essentially, total privacy. That is what you actually have with this Nevis structure, right? It's very clear, very important that you understand this. But again, that 2-year statute, the actual no respect of foreign court judgments, doesn't even understand them. It's fantastic. And then you have no control of the assets that this entity essentially owns. Regarding banking, we can add the bank account. Very simply. So this trust is going to own stuff, okay? Part of this trust, there is someone called a settler, okay? Very important. The settler, in this instance, is the person settling the trust. So if I'm creating the trust, typically I would be the settler, correct? So I hope that's very clear. So for my purpose in this current video, right, we're going to do the settler as myself. Additionally now, guys, there's also beneficiaries. Beneficiaries are here. So these can be, for example, yourself, your spouse, your grandma, your business partner, an LLC, a charity, foundation. It can be anything, right? Absolutely anything. That's what's key here. You can have anything here, generally speaking, right? So moving forward, the trustee, for example, with me, if we're setting up with Nevis, typically currently I'm using, I'm not going to say the supplier's name, but they have great trustee services. They're based in Geneva and Nevis, and they are the best trustees which I've currently come across. I currently use them. Now, again, if we're now speaking about jurisdictions such as Cook Islands, potentially you could have a Cook Islands Trust with a Cook Islands PTC, which is a private trust company. So the Cook Islands private trust company essentially manages the trust, and then essentially you have an external manager to manage how you can manage that, but that enables a little bit of control there. But Cook Islands is very robust in how it kind of deals with that asset protectional sense of business, right? So what's very important as well with this is the trust deed. The trust deed is crucial. It's a legal document that requires legal reviews. We do 2 legal reviews to make sure that it is perfect. Additionally, we typically spend between 1 and 2 weeks with the client directly, working together on the trust deed. Obviously, we have gone and seen a lot of trust deeds, so we have the expertise to go ahead and help you with those. So moving forward, we're now going to move to our Playmaker episode, the Playmaker, right? So this over here. So I'm going to change this to the core. Nevis Trust. Okay. Playmaker, again, is in Nevis, and that is actually for compliance reasons. You have to have some kind of local domestic connection, and this obviously creates that connection. So the trust owns the Nevis LLC. This is the Playmaker. So the core owns the Playmaker. Why? Because you don't want your trust signing deals and making operational moves. The LLC can do that, right? Or other entities this LLC can potentially own. So this is going to act as a holdings company. The LLC handles all the business aspects and returns money to the core, right? It's a proper operation. It's your operational face without exposing the trust behind it, right? So people can sometimes see this through public registers. Let's say if you own a UK company, obviously you can see the shareholders if you dig into those corporate filings. And guess what? If someone ever comes for the LLC, the trust owns it. You are in full asset protection from this Nevis Trust. It's a great one. It's the second best trust in the entire world, right? Cook Islands #1, Nevis #2. I'll also make another video potentially in the future on the Cook Islands. I've said a few videos so far, but I'll make one of these very in-depth reviews on a structure and how to typically kind of manage these. So here we're now at the stage of the playmaker. Moving on to step 3, guys, getting very important now. Now you can see the structure really building and how this all comes together. Step 3, the EU access card. Let's go ahead and create that. This is what's key. Why I'm also making this video today is to highlight the showcases of the Malta LLC. Now, what's very important is Malta is in the EU. Malta is respected and Malta opens real SEPA bank accounts. So this is no EMIs. These are real traditional bank accounts. You can potentially even get any bank account you want with this LLC. You know, you've got access to 98% of all of the banks compared to Nevis, where you've got access to what, 15 or 20% of the accounts, right? So it's very key to have those, you know, strong banking relationships, especially with traditional banks. What it provides you actually access with is easy banking as well. If you then wanted, let's say, for example, a traditional, a simple Revolut account alongside a Lloyds bank account, you know, so you've got a great traditional EMI there with Lloyds, a very formalized and very strong foundation bank with a new, you know, electronic EMI neobank, right? Like Revolut, that obviously has those merchant capabilities, that has those crypto features, that has those new modern banking features in those neo-banking networks that you are looking for. Again, 5% effective corporate tax if it's structured correctly. We can help you do that here at Forward Point Solutions. And again, make sure that you have the perfect credibility for invoicing your actual clients, so that your clients do not see Nevis, right? That is what's key. So you look completely normal. Now this can then go ahead and do something very special here. This is what's very interesting, Achilles. So we've got the core, the playmaker, the EU access card. Now we have our operations. This is our batter front, okay? These are our fronts of business. So this is what you're basically going to see as, for example, an online shop, right? You might see this shop online called palmtrees.com, right? That is owned by the London BHQ, which is a London LTD, which is then owned by the EU Access card, which is a Malta LLC, then the Playmaker, which is the Nevis LLC, right? And then from here, it's then all owned by the trust with those 3 parties involved, the settlor, the beneficiary, and the trustee being the most important, and obviously, generally speaking, you being the client, and obviously I'm speaking to potential clients here, right? That you, the beneficiary, are the one who benefits. And what we're trying to do here is remove control. So yes, you still have control of these 2 operational companies, is what I'm trying to say. However, you do not have control from the Nevis level. The EU access card gives you those banking capabilities mixed with London. You know, you've now got private bank access, such as Hor & Co. You know, a private bank, one of the oldest and the oldest established private unlimited banks. Very special, unique bank. You know, very private, very premier to its clients. You've got the likes of Coutts, HSBC, Barclays, Lloyds, NatWest, RBS. You know, you can then access those neobanks, those EMIs, those other ones very easy. You can open bank accounts within 24 hours. So it's fantastic. Then you've still got the Dutch presence, very similar capabilities, but you're just keeping things within the EU here. So you've got a nice EU and London presence, yet the taxes are still nil as long as it's structured correctly. So that's what's very important. Don't forget, you can book a meeting anytime with me and join me for a 30-minute chat, which is obviously very cool, very nice. Don't charge for it. I'm not like these fake gurus online. I'm just uploading real stuff. Yes, the videos are trying to become more higher quality as I've introduced some brief, simple formalities and foundations. So guys, the common pitfalls to be watching out for here is very important, is the substance abuse. Substance abuse, if you don't put it as real substance, right, behind your Malta company, such as like a real director, a real local economic director. So you could say that you're making economic choices based on Malta to obviously distinguish your disguise. Okay. Again, the banks will eventually shut you down. You need that local presence there. It'll be very, you need that. That is a little pitfall there. Okay. The wrong trust drafting, as I've mentioned. So what is very key, as I've mentioned before, is the trust deed, the legal deed of the trust is very important to all parties. Tax treaties and withholding taxes are key here. So tax treaties and withholding taxes are extremely key in this current position. If you're reserving too much power to yourself, if you don't manage your interest flows and ownership layers right, you could get hit with potential withholding taxes. So this needs to be structured very correctly. Again, this is why, as you can see, this is not structured in Portugal, for example, or Spain. It's structured in the Netherlands using a special exemption, which we can go into in further detail if we ever speak in person, if that kind of makes sense. As the conversations can get very in-depth. All of these topics are very simple, but yet they're all very simple, all of these offshore topics and all of these videos, but yet they're such complexities. And for such a person who's never, for example, the average viewer who just knows about a few simple complexities, it makes sense, but understanding there's so many questions to ask, and that's why having a call obviously is essential for moving forward. Yeah, so the offshore level asset protection, which is extremely key, right? Extremely important. You get the EU level credibility within this, access to London and EU banks, which is just ridiculous, and potentially even US banks. It's crazy. Real operational banking capabilities on the neo banking front and the traditional banking front and the private banking front, which is extremely key. And then finally, the multi-level jurisdictional flexibility. So you can give a client a London front of business or a Dutch or a Malta, right? It's very key there. Very nice, depending on where the client's actually from. Let's say the client's from Cyprus, and maybe it's better to invoice from Malta. As if the client's more, let's say, American-based, invoicing from a UK company does provide that very nice trust. They see the nice, prestigious London address that's costing you $1,000 a year to be on one of the most expensive roads in London, right? These are simple things you can do to really establish that true connection to the client and make sure those money flows are key, right? And also hit the bell for new videos coming to the channel. We are currently a small channel and we are growing, and I do appreciate every little bit of engagement which you guys can provide. It's like driving a Ferrari in the financial world, though, right? And everyone else is still on a bicycle. That's what this kind of system can kind of provide, because you're removing taxation, you're increasing asset protection, and you're increasing your branding, business front, and establishment of foundations. When this is passed down to your children who are, for example, going to be turning maybe 25 or 35 by the time that you pass, or 45 years old, what a beautiful thing to give them an entire establishment that gives them the access. For example, if they're American, they can now go work for a Malta company potentially and get a residence permit and have a path to citizenship over in Malta. The doors are so open with these structures. It's quite frankly a different world. It's like driving a Ferrari compared to riding a bicycle. It's just quite frankly different.